Greetings and God bless. I had been wondering why the past few years, especially the past couple of years, why people seem to be just out of their minds, like not intelligent. And I'm talking about friends and family who are well read and have a good memory and study history, and why they've kind of seem to have lost their intelligence. They've done this rapid dumbing down in just a couple of years. And I had thought it might have been pixels on the laptop or on the phone. And now I'm wondering if it's the blue light that's everywhere. Blue light, like you go to the grocery stores. For some reason, all these grocery stores have these blue light monitors, just like doing some sort of like rotating commercial kind of a thing. Or, bus stops in major cities have these huge screens, um, with some advertising. I mean, like when I was in New York City in the subway, they had all these panels of, screens, television screens, showing some latest advertisement. And I'm like, that probably costs a lot of money to get that rigged up. But like the subways themselves don't have a working elevator or whatever. I mean, it's just really messed up. So why the effort? Why all this money spent on getting these computer screens everywhere when you don't even have your elevator working? Um, don't make other improvements, So I'm like, and then I'm listening to this talk today, and I'm like, blue light must be some sort of mind control. So I'm listening to this. Uh, I don't want to say the name of her channel in case it's a trigger, but I'll post the Rumble channel. Anyway, so and if you're in the alternative health community, blue light is hard on the body. Blue light is, it's overstimulating. During the day, you want some blue light, but um, now people are finding, and I knew somebody who was on the computer all the time for her job, and she like was going blind. Uh, and then she was scrambling to do healthy, like reduce your blue light using blue blockers and whatnot. So, but I think what I'm wondering is not only, so we know science shows blue light is hard. It's not healthy for the eye. It's not healthy for probably our pineal and pituitary. Um, And I wonder if it's also doing something to dumb people down. Although, you know, it's not working all the time because I'm exposed to blue light, and somehow I'm able to figure some stuff out. And I know other people who are able to figure some stuff out, and they're still exposed to blue light. Um, but this is just something I'm wondering. And I wanted to also add, like, so the past couple of years, like when the lockdown happened in 2020, I would have to, I'd be walking to the grocery store or something like that, and there would be nobody out, uh, and and when I would try to cross the street, like drivers were absolutely insane. They were like Mad Max. It was like the criminals were out. Like they were like, I don't have to follow any rules. I don't have to follow the law. I think they would have run me over if it appealed to them. Like, and I don't know. I mean, and I've always been a pedestrian and lived in major cities, but I find that even before the lockdowns, drivers are they're not they're inhumane, because when a driver runs you over, that's assault with a deadly weapon. Like, and this is normal. Like, drivers think they get to almost run you over. Drivers think they get to miss you. Drivers think they don't have to pay attention when they're driving at a solo pedestrian. What I notice is when there's a lot of pedestrians, then a driver will stop. Then a driver actually obeys the law because it seems like there's a certain quantity of people that you can't threaten, that everybody agrees upon. And I do wonder if maybe it's the blue light of all these devices that's unhinging people's self preservation and their humanity. And by humanity, I mean, uh, you don't, not like the majority of people don't think they get to kill the rest of the other people, because that's how people are, and it's across all classes, all races, genders, political parties. I've seen everybody cut me off. Somebody in a Prius, or some black lady in Virginia. And I got to say that gangsters are not as bad. I would say gangsters generally don't try to run me over. It's usually like some entitled person, what regardless of what gender, race, or whatever that they may be. um, but I'm wondering if blue light is some type of um, like dehumanizing force. And I'm a big fan of incandescent light bulbs. They have like a slower flicker rate. I don't know all the details about blue light, but I'm sure you've heard about it, and you can easily find information about blue light. It's not the best, and that incandescent is, better. And when they're trying to remove what's worked before, like when there's this major push either to put something out, like they put out all these computer screens everywhere, in the subway, in the grocery store, at the bus stop, right? They made sure to do that, but they don't have elevators working, or you know whatever. It tells you something. Like, for some reason they really want this toxin out there, they want this harmful tool out there. um, and then they try to remove what helps you, like the incandescent light. Um, so, anyways, I don't think LEDs are good to have on all the time. Yeah, they're okay for your like your bike light, in the back, or in the front. That's probably actually the best. Very good for that. But I've heard like there's these new car lights, and they're so searing, such a bright frequency. They're actually like harming your eyes, like they're harming people's eyes, other drivers on the road. And like I was taking Greyhound and cross country a month ago, and I was wearing my sunglasses at like 1 in the morning, and the lights were so bright. It was as if I wasn't wearing my sunglasses, and I was wearing it because the lights from the cars were just so bright. So anyways, I think that's affecting people's behavior. And when a person is just like, yeah, I get to threaten everybody with my car. I get to threaten everybody with whatever. I get to do whatever I want. When somebody is so entitled, that is not a good thing. That is not actually in your best interest. I mean, like emperors like Caligula or whatever, I mean, they get taken out. And I think what entitled narcissists, they expect everybody to be a conformist, and authoritarians. And I was watching a video somebody posted a couple days ago. One guy, it looked like it was a welfare office or something, and there was a slender guy who, to me, actually looked like an Antifa person. Just looks like an LBGT all in black, um, or that kind of like geeky, um, just nondescript, slender guy. Maybe not LBGT, but that kind of punk, Marxist anarchist kind of look. Okay, and so he was standing next to this big guy, and all of a sudden the big guy punches the Antifa looking guy, and then the big guy kind of staggers, and so it looks like the other big guy was drunk, and maybe the big guy was mean, or maybe that uh, Antifa looking guy, maybe he said something, because so the security camera was catching all of this, right? So the big guy knocks down the Antifa looking guy, and the Antifa looking guy gets up and walks out the door, turns, takes out of a little plastic bag, takes out a gun, and shoots the big guy down. I mean, and this was like, so the big guy, after the little guy falls down, the big guy's like staggering, and somebody's talking to him. So the big guy's not going after the Antifa looking guy. So my question is, uh, a guy comes in carrying a gun in a plastic bag right below a security camera. And when he's fine, when he's finally safe, I mean, yeah, he got knocked down, but if I shot everybody who did something bad to me, I mean, that'd be not good for the world. So, anyways, the guy is fine. The big guy is not going after the little guy anymore. And then the guy shoots the big guy. And this video is viral. This video, it captures everything. It's creating a reaction. People are like, yeah, shoot that bully. But I think this was like a setup. I don't know if the victim is a pawn, but there's just so many weird things about it. Like, this is just too much of a coincidence. So, and some people are like, yeah, they're so mad at the bully, but they're not seeing, like, it looks like the Antifa looking guy looks like he was prepared. He had a gun in a plastic bag. Does everybody carry a gun in a plastic bag ready to go at all times? I wonder if the Antifa looking guy said something to the big guy, and the big guy was three sheets to the wind, and he got shot. And overall, I think there's like this lack of self-preservation. There's lack of self-preservation by the Antifa people. And they're kind of religious fanatics. They're the new religious fanatic. Because when in Portland, people there was chaos. There was anarchy in Portland, and people died. People were violated in terrible ways. And I know people are like, oh, well, that's the sacrifices you have to make for something new, for breaking down society. Like anarchy, requires, got to break a few eggs. Uh, and it's easy for that person to say. And what I notice is the people who are like pro anarchy, pro Marxist, they're wealthy people. They come from wealth. They have a sense of entitlement, and they don't think the oppression that comes with Marxism or communism, they don't think it would apply to them or their children. Uh, yeah, it's very strange. It's not working class or poor people that I see into Marxism. It's this weird, psychotic, elitist thing that I have observed. And but back to the blue light thing. So everybody, like even poor people, even illiterate people, everybody has a mobile phone. The government makes sure that you have a mobile phone. And there's this big push for smartphones, which I think is probably, I don't know, next level of demonic possession. But there again is a source of blue light. And if you don't know how to turn down, like reduce the brightness of your device, like my device, even when I have the brightness down, like I have to turn it because it's still so bright. It sears my eyes. So I think that, like the Antifa people, they think they're so smart. They think they're they've outwitted the system or whatever, but they're just pawns in the system. And the big bullies, the thugs, they think they are in charge or something like that, but they're not, because they're getting shot or they're getting imprisoned, or they're being bullied by a bigger bully. Um, and ultimately, what we need is Lord Jesus Christ. Yet I do. My latest thought, though, is that I wonder about this blue light in all of these devices and all of these like light bulbs and whatnot. If that's affecting people's behavior and making them less, like have less of a sense of self-preservation, making them be less community minded, less humane. And speaking of humanity, I mean, a lot of people that are supposed to be in church, a lot of people who are they're working in services for the public good. Like they're just some nasty people, and I would say that's who like the government or social service kind of organizations seem to select for. They don't select for nice people. Um, like it seems like they, I have friends and associates who think, oh, well, if somebody needs help, they should just go to whoever, social services. And there are some of the nastiest, like creepiest people that work in those fields. And like, it's just this interesting trend. And when, let's say, you're trying to start a business, and you're working in the private sector, all of a sudden, people, number one, they don't jerk you around quite so flagrantly as when you're trying to get social help or whatever. They're respectful. They There's just this different. You're in a different world than when you're trying to get help when you need help, when you're like a beggar, and people don't realize it, especially like the progressive liberal world, but I think even conservatives, like they don't realize the contempt that social services employees, staff, everybody that those folks have for the people that they're supposed to help. And people who are blessed by the Lord, they're like off, traveling to exotic places or spending all sorts of money on boutique clothing for their babies or boutique grooming for their dogs, or whatever. Building a whole new house or doing this intense renovation. Like people are living these super glamorous lives, like living the life of the rich and famous now. Like now everybody's got to live that life of the rich and famous, even though they're not. And they're expecting the government or whatever social services to take care of the mentally ill or the disabled or whatever. And the social services people and the government are the last people that you want the vulnerable to depend upon. There's just something like evil in those industries. Like, and I mean evil in the uh, exact sense of the word. So I just wanted to suggest folks like keep those incandescent light bulbs, use those, and adjust the brightness of your devices. Only tricky thing is if you have your device on the lowest setting and then you go outside in bright sunlight, you won't be able to see your screen. So you just want to remember when you're transitioning from going inside to out, you want to adjust your screen so you can actually see when you're outside, because it's harder to adjust your screen when you're outside in the bright sunlight. Yet being out of, what I'm wondering is mind control, like being out of the mind control of blue light. I'm is that what's going on? Because yeah, so this is just a speculation. If anybody knows, let me know. Um, but it's like we're being traumatized as a matter of course. So just remember who you are. You know, like what day is it today? You know, what does your room look like right now? What did you eat this morning? What might you eat later today? Because with um, chronic stress, prolonged trauma, uh, you begin to lose track, lose your memories, and lose yourself. And so it's important to anchor your awareness, like, oh, I'm here right now. Right now it's like 10:45 on September 6th. My name is such and such. Like, just keep track of your environment, of your day, of what you've done, what your plans are, of reality. Because this prolonged trauma, it kind of tries to break you out of your reality. It's about breaking your perception. So uh, that's what little I know. And definitely, go in nature and maybe look at beautiful art or just natural beauty and listen to bird song. And when I'm in a place where there's not birds around, I just actually look up on YouTube, and there's like videos of, sometimes it's a loop, but where it's like 8 hours of bird song. And sometimes I play that during the day, and I'll actually play it on slower because it seems to me recorded videos, seem to be faster when they're finally loaded to YouTube. Because like this video, I'm talking fairly slow, but I have a feeling it's going to play a little bit faster. So anyways, those are my thoughts about blue light. And one last thing, I do not believe in authoritarianism, and I think there's two sides to authoritarians. There's two types of authoritarians. There's the conservative authoritarians that are traditional, they're patriarchal, and they have done bad things, which has then created the Marxist LBGT authoritarians. And that's the irony, is that the feminists and the LBGT and the Antifa and BLM folks, they're authoritarians too. They're just like, oh, I don't want your flavor of authoritarian. I want mine. So they're both being bad, like for me, in my opinion, I do not like authoritarianism. I don't think it's good. I don't. It's like absolute power. And number one, we're a constitutional republic. This country is a republic. So it's not about who can beat anybody up. It's like, and our reality is based on paperwork. Strange as it may seem, but Satan, the ruler of Earth, is about paperwork. He is the inventor of bureaucracy. And for some reason, it appears that Satan has this rule of paperwork and like written things. So we do have a contract. We have the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. And yes, I know there's all sorts of shady things about the corporation of the United States and whatnot, but the common agreement is that this is a free country and we're a republic. And yes, I know that law is violated with impunity, um, but still, for some reason, that law is still operating or whatever. Like like because if the world was absolute chaos and mayhem and evil, there'd be shooting in the streets and children being abducted and violated right and left. Like if things were really, really the way Satan would want it, that would be happening, and that would have been happening in the past 1,000 years. But for some reason, it's not. So I think like Satan has some sort of rule he set up, and it's about paperwork and contracts and like the Old Testament, the New Testament. So it's like, so the Testament is a contract. The New Testament is this new contract that God has with us. And I do believe that when we consent to being in this contract with Almighty God, that's just another set of rules that Satan works within. And I'm not saying that Christians have it any better. As a matter of fact, I think they have more difficulties. That's definitely what I have found to be the case. Like when I was a kind of an ignorant New Ager and um, just a very lost person, I had challenges for sure, big stresses, but I also had other things that balanced it out. I had health issues, but um, like things, I just had more resilience or something like that. And now that I've been a believer, like uh, things are harder in different ways, but it also could be, the phase of my life as well. So, and what I wanted to say about authoritarians, whether you're Antifa authoritarian, like a globalist authoritarian, or whether you're a patriarchal authoritarian, a traditional, like nobody likes you. Nobody likes either authoritarian. If you're a feminist authoritarian or an LBGT authoritarian or a Christian authoritarian, Muslim or Communist Chinese Party, nobody likes you. And even though that's irrelevant, you're not going to last. Like it just doesn't work. It's not something that functions. It's not even something that's healthy for the environment. Because when an authoritarian is running everything, like they're an entitled, toxic narcissist, so they're going to damage the buildings, and they're going to damage the infrastructure, and they're going to damage the environment. Because they're like, oh, I can shit in my black backyard, and I can shit in your backyard, and I can kill whoever and leave their corpses. And, like authoritarians are not what makes the world go around. They're not what causes civilization to advance and to progress and sustain itself. What works is when people work together, and when there's a dialogue, and when there's emotional intelligence. So uh, people can have a discussion and have an exchange of ideas and agree to disagree and have different perspectives. Like that's what makes the world go round. That's what makes civilization. That's what makes this country, America, great. The United States. We have a lot of different types of people coexisting, and I do not think though that we're supposed to let a non-American be in charge or be like, I don't think there should be like a weekly poster child of diversity running everything. And because it's just paying lip service. And what's so weird is when somebody will hate America. They've immigrated, they've assimilated, they've benefited, they have an American accent, but they hate America, and they're trying to make America a Muslim country or something like that, or a communist Chinese party country. or whatever. I mean, there's all these different types of people. A satanic country, like, I mean, there's just everybody is like, oh yeah, we gotta change this horrible country, the United States, to fit my little 10% of people agenda. Like, what is going on? To me, that's just, I don't know. And there's different personalities, and I have like maybe a kind of a bigger vision of what makes civilization historically functional. So I can't expect everybody to have my perspective. But, anyways, if you're an authoritarian, whether you're a Christian or whether you're an Antifa occultist, you guys, nobody likes you. You suck. You're ruining everything. And the Christian authoritarians created the backlash that made people rebellious. And same thing with the Antifa authoritarians or the BLM. I mean, it just makes people like resentful and afraid and maybe not think right and do destructive things. And and I include Christians in this or whoever. And like, if you're a real Christian, you know, if you scatter the sheep, like whether they're like, even if it's somebody who's lost and you've driven them away from Christ because you're such a jerk, like you have God is going to talk to you. Like, you don't just say, oh, I'm going to treat the lost horribly because they're lost. You don't know if tomorrow they might meet a believer. You don't know if next year God changes their heart. Like, you're not in charge. So uh, so that was a pretty long-winded diatribe, but yeah, I don't like authoritarianism. Society does not like authoritarianism. It doesn't last. It doesn't serve anybody. It doesn't even serve the authoritarian, because they will probably go to hell because they're doing horrible things to people because they don't know any better. So, and use your incandescent light bulbs. Change back to your incandescent light. Make sure you get those old-fashioned light bulbs. And there's even like, so at certain stores you can get these little fake candles, plastic. So avoid getting the LED lights. There's some that have like a little warm glow. So I like that one. And like candles, I'm not too keen on candles because people seem to be kind of distracted. But if you do set up a candle, just make sure you put a plate underneath it and you're paying attention to it. Don't leave it somewhere, um, because you don't want to have a fire. So I'm more of a fan of getting the fake ones, or just that. And what I recommend is low light incandescent. Like, there's these appliance bulbs that are, I can't remember what the wattage, like 15 watts or something like that. Like a low wattage is kind of nice. It's a very mild, mellow light, and yeah, it's not the brightest light, but it's especially in the afternoon, late afternoon, and in the evening, it's just nicer to have a more mild light rather than having these blazing 120 watt bulbs where it's like brighter than daylight at 8 p.m. um, that's going to make it harder for you to fall asleep. So anyways, thanks for watching. God bless.